In this video, Mohammad Marandi, former head of North American Studies, University of Tehran, discusses why Israel and the United States really attacked Iran, and it had little to do with a nuclear weapons program. If you ask me, it had more to do with the fact that they're so angry and hateful about not controlling those oil reserves, but they also talk about the fact that they've been supporting the Palestinian resistance.
uh, they bombed apartment blocks in Tehran and in different parts of the city, and lots of people, women, children, were murdered. Um, the damage is clear. I was on Sky News, and I was supposed to have an interview with the BBC afterwards. And as soon as my Sky News interview finished, I think because of what I said, BBC canceled. But what I was saying, because Sky News was trying to stress the military aspect of it, and I was saying they targeted people in their homes, they targeted women and children. Uh, it's just like in Lebanon when they were carrying out the genocidal attacks, or in Gaza. We've seen so many films where little kids were thrown out of buildings. That's what happened in Tehran early this morning.
All my life, I thought your feet were just for walking. I realized my mistake when I visited Japan.
And of course, the the attack was unprovoked, but Western media speaks as if this is normal, and that is the new normal because the Israeli regime can slaughter and kill and attack whoever it wants, whenever it wants. There's a lot of exaggeration. There's a lot of footage out there that claims that all sorts of assets of Iran are destroyed. A lot of that is bogus. Damage has there is damage, and some assets have been destroyed, but it's not at all like what is being said. Iran's key assets are deep underground, but since they murdered senior state officials and military officials, the Iranians have to regroup. Now, some could say that Iran made the mistake of allowing their senior military officials to be exposed this way. I agree. I don't know why that happened, but they were immediately replaced, and so we'll have to see. Right now, I'm guessing, and of course I'm not military and I'm not in the government, but I'm guessing that Iran, after it regroups, it prepares itself, the responses will begin, and I assume that it will not take very long.
Well, when you say response, Professor Morandi, what kind of response do we expect here? Because Israel and the United States right now are really thumping their chests, especially Israel, because the United States is trying to plausibly deny their involvement. But Israel right now is thumping their chest. They're saying they're going to be doing this for quite a while. So what kind of response can we be expecting?
Well, first of all, the Americans are deeply involved, and it's not just the Americans. Regional countries are assisting. uh, Radar bases in Turkey, in Qatar, in the Emirates, in Bahrain are all being used um, in order to assist the Israelis both in their offensive capabilities as well as their defensive capabilities. And US bases are being used across the board for logistical purposes. Uh, it's also, I think, quite evident that the Europeans are supporting this attack. The French have basically said that the Israelis have a right to defend themselves. So I I find extraordinary that they would openly say that. And the head of the IAEA, he refuses to condemn the Israeli attack on Iranian nuclear sites. So that says a lot about the nature of this body, too. But I think the nature of the Iranian response will depend on the battlefield. There's no doubt that there will be a heavy response to the Israeli regime. But with regards to the Persian Gulf, the United States, its bases, I think there will be an assessment on what sort of role the United States plays. So if Trump is sane, he will stay out of this, but who knows? But I think for the moment, what is clear is that Iran is going to respond to the Israelis. It is quite interesting how there are some people out there who pretend to be pro-Palestinian, but they seem to be very happy to see the Israelis bomb Iran. They're not that many, but I think it exposes a great deal about the nature of some of these so-called Palestinian supporters.
Well, this has been a problem for a long time where Iran, we had Syria before this, of course, Iraq, we can go back, but Libya too. I mean, over and over and over again, we've had kind of this regime change narrative of these regimes are this and they're that, they're corrupt. Thus, they are deserving of being overthrown, of course, without any real knowledge, especially in the combined West led by the United States, of what Iran as a society really is. Iran, you said, has a lot of assessing to do. You know, you said there was a lot of exaggerations. What exactly is the damage here? You talked about these are war crimes, the civilians being targeted. There's talks and reports of nuclear sites having been targeted. And some are saying that a lot of Iran's defenses and even its capabilities have been targeted and devastated. So what's your understanding of this, given these reports?
Well, without a doubt, these are war crimes. They're targeting. They've targeted civilians. They've slaughtered women and children. That's it. The evidence is there. They weren't showing it in the Western media a few hours ago, but I did tweet it. Others did tweet it, so that people would see it. I pointed this out on Sky News because they were saying this has to be verified, and I said, well, people can go to my Twitter account. But then Sky News was showing streets with taxis under rubble and that sort of thing, and it was quite obvious what had happened. So they were striking civilian targets. Iran's assets, as I said earlier, they're being targeted. But Iran is a huge country, and it has enormous capabilities, and those capabilities are, for the most part, underground. So I think right now the main issue in Iran is for the new leadership to prepare itself for the coming hours and coming days. And then we will see an Iranian response. A lot of this is psychological warfare. And there are, for example, images online that are AI. There are images that don't have anything to do with Iran. There are images taken like one strike from different perspectives, from different angles, and they're presenting it as multiple strikes. So there's a lot of psychological warfare going around, and Western media is assisting this. They, from what I've seen, I haven't seen too much, but on the throughout the day when I've seen bits and pieces, they're constantly repeating the Israeli narrative. That's how that's how they support them, and they make it look like they have these enormous operations in Iran, which are nonsense. They've been saying that they have these Mossad teams in Iran and carrying out. That's for the movies. The damage has basically been done through missiles, and the Americans. Trump is very happy about the role that he's played in all this. But we'll have to see what Iran does in response. I think this time tomorrow it'll become clearer.
This is an ongoing war, Professor Morandi. You've been on my channel many times. You're a deep friend of this show, but many people in the audience have been very concerned about this being the end game. And so do you see this as right now the end game? Has Israel, with the United States' help, have they initiated this unthinkable war that we've been talking about, that this has been the goal all along, was to spark a war with Iran? Is it here now?
Well, the animosity towards Iran for the last 4.5 decades has all been about Palestine. It's not Iran's nuclear program. It's not anything else. It's all about Palestine. That's why the Americans have no problem with any of the countries in the Persian Gulf. They have no problem with Erdogan. They have no problem with Abdullah in Jordan or Sisi in Egypt. Their problem is Iran, and that's because Iran is supporting the Palestinian cause and has been doing so for many years. So obviously, the Americans would like to undermine Iran. The Israeli regime would like to undermine Iran. And we've seen evidence of that in the past. Wesley Clark, his the famous clip that he had about the different wars that the United States wishes to pursue. So obviously that is a factor. That is true. That this is an attempt to bring about regime change. But Iran is a very powerful country. It's a very resilient country.